So Xiaomi has just launched now globally their Android 15 tablets. And I'm talking about, of course, the Xiaomi Pad 7 and the 7 Pro here. They're very similar tablets, and in this video, I'm going to cover the differences between them because there's a chipset difference, Snapdragon 8S Gen 3, and then a Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 3. And there's not a lot in it. We've got the same screens, which are, by the way, IPS, 11 inches, and the battery capacity with both of them being the same, 8,850 milliamp hours. Slight difference in charging and a few other things that are noteworthy that I'll talk about in this video, so you know not to make the mistake of perhaps going for the Pro model when you should have just gone for the standard model or vice versa here. I'll let you know in this review of the new Pad 7 series. Now, Xiaomi did send these out to me, the Pad 7, 12 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes of storage, and the Pad 7 Pro with 12 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage there. So they're both the max spec version. Unfortunately, what is included, well, obviously the tablet was there. There's no charger, and that is a little bit disappointing. So inside here, you'll find a little bit of paperwork, and then we'll get our charging cable. So disappointing there. I really do think they should include the charger. For optional accessories, we've got the Xiaomi Focus Pen, which is going to work on both of them. We've seen this before with the previous generation. So it has a 240 Hz sample rate and pressure-sensitive levels of 8,192. So you can see we've got here 3 buttons. There's the main one there, then up and down. Now you can change out this nib. They give you a spare one. So it's a normal pen size and it charges wirelessly and does fit on top of the tablet. There's a place where you stow it, which I'll show you. So along the top of the tablets, we've got that area there, the wireless charging area for the pen. So you can put it on either way and it clicks into place there with magnets and you'll see the charging percentage or percent of the battery on the screen there. And it fits on really nicely. It's quite solid, so if I give that a good shake, it's not going to come off quite easily. So later in the video, I'll show you the performance and what to expect out of this stylus. You can get this cover, which is really nice, the material that it's made out of. It's this synthetic style leather, and it does feel very good in hand. So there's a raised lip here to protect the camera module. It does extend out a little bit more the width of this than the tablet, so when you drop it, it shouldn't end up damaging it, so it offers reasonably good edge protection there. And then when you open it up, so you've got this here with the magnets holding it in place, you can swing that back behind it. So this is the way it works, and you're able then to pop up the tablet. This you can fold that back too because it kind of is in the way, but you're able to tuck that back, and should have actually done that first. There we go. That gets it out of the way, so you can use it then to support the tablet. So all up, not a bad product and very good protection for your tablet. Then for keyboards, we've got 2 choices. This is the Focus keyboard, synthetic material on the back again. A little bit of protection for the edges, although not a lot. Now it is raised up and the thickness of it means that the camera module, the lens there, that glass on the back is not going to be touching the ground and should not cause any scratches on it at all. So if I turn it around and open it up here, you'll see we have our keyboard. Now this one, the Focus keyboard, comes with a little mini touchpad, which I find is good. It's acceptable to use, considering again the space constraints they've got with such a small sized tablet there. Good travel, there's no bounce or flex because it does lie completely flat. So ergonomics not the best because it isn't raised up. Now you can angle this up and down a little bit, and this goes only forward a bit more, but it's not going to tip over, which is good. And it clips in place with magnets again. And we've got the pogo port pin connector there on the back, you can see, and this felt here material in the inside. So build is very good, and the way that clips in, it's held into place, hasn't fallen off either, is excellent. So Focus keyboard. Let's have a look at the standard keyboard. Now this is obviously the one in white here. It looks very good, but I wonder what it's going to look like long term. I don't particularly like my tech in white because it tends to show dirt later on. It's the same synthetic style material on the back. It's a lot thinner, a lot lighter, and I'll show you the difference in the weight shortly. And this one doesn't have the hinge that's going to support itself, not self-supporting. One fixed angle, pogo port pin connector as well, so it's going to connect up and pair up when you connect it on, and that is your single position. That is it. But it is optimized. I've been testing it out for table use. So when you place this on a table, you sit down. I find the angle is good. So no touchpad at all with it, but it's a little bit more compact, lighter, smaller, still good key feedback with this, and about 1.3, 1.4 millimeters of travel with this keyboard. And yes, compromised half-size arrow keys. And I just put those two together side by side so you can see the size difference of them. You see how much bigger this one is because of that touchpad. But really, the keyboard space is the same. So this model's a lot more expensive. I don't know the exact prices of the set, so I can't really mention that. But I think it's going to be like about 100 and something rather euros. This one will probably be around about 50 euros or so cheaper. But if you're going to be typing a lot, I definitely recommend you get yourself one of these keyboard covers. Checking on our weight. So the tablets weigh 500 grams, but with the keyboard, that's going to bring up the weight then to 839 grams. And our Focus keyboard, which is, I think, probably over a kilo now. Oh, just over. So it's 1.09 kilos if you're going to go with that total travel weight. Okay, looking at the build of them, they are both the same. So this is the Pad 7, the Pad 7 Pro. The big difference is the chipset. So Snapdragon 8S Gen 3 versus the Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 3. And I'll show you the Antutu score, the performance difference between them. But we've got the same exact screen, same hardware, same build, and they are both 6.2 millimeters, the thickness of them. So the other difference is the camera here. So the camera module on the rear with the non-Pro 13 megapixel camera, with the Pro it's 50, front-facing camera 32. The front-facing camera on this model is just 8, and the screens are the same, and I'll get onto them just in a second. So bezels, not bad at all. It's a very good build quality to them. I have the blue color here, light blue, which I do think looks a little bit better than the gray. The gray is quite a dark gray. It picks up more of the fingerprints. Pogo port pin connector for those two keyboards I showed you before. The 50 megapixel camera there on the back of it. And both of them do have the same battery capacity, which is 8,850 milliamp hours. Now, this is something I could not get to work with the Chinese version of the Pad 7 I have. I don't know whether it's faulty or it's down to early firmware or something, but on both of them, connecting external displays does work. So USB 3.2 with video out. You hit the mirror display option. There is no desktop mode, so it's just a clone display. And this is a touch screen I'm using, and you can see that it is working fine. And that's on both versions, the 7 and the 7 Pro. So while they both look the same here, looking at the left-hand side, this is a fingerprint reader, whereas with the non-Pro version, it's not. So if you need to have a fingerprint reader, you've got to get then the Pro version. So we have Dolby Atmos with our speakers. There's 2 on either side. Microphone right here, and you can see Dolby Vision also written there for the display. So there's one thing that bothers me a little bit, and that is the Type-C port's not perfectly centered. It just seems like it should be in the middle, but it's not. They pushed it towards the edge for whatever reason there, Xiaomi. So there's a charging difference. The Pro version, 67 watts versus 45 you get with the non-Pro. And I'll talk about that difference later in the video when I show you some of the benchmarks, the Antutu scores and charging times with them. So note that there's no 3.5mm headphone jack. There is no micro SD card support with both of these, which is a little bit disappointing. We don't have that. The displays on both are exactly the same. 11.2 inches. We have a resolution which is 2136 by 3200. So the displays are nice and sharp with 344 ppi. And they do look good, but IPS. So with some areas, some things that I have brought up, like this here, you can probably see, just on the edge, you get a bit of a slightly darker area. Now, you wouldn't get that with an OLED. An OLED has perfect uniform colors. You get better contrast, but it's not a bad panel. It does support HDR10, and for an IPS, it's good. And there's always those people in the comments that say they do prefer IPS panels because they know there will be no screen burn. That's not going to happen. With OLEDs, it can if you're always displaying the same image, but it normally takes a lot of time, and I've not experienced that problem in a very long time myself personally. So in display settings, we do have a few options, and I'll show you that one of them, I really do like this. So refresh rate up to 144 or 90. Yes, we don't see this a lot, but it's good to be there. That, of course, perfect blend of fluidity and battery saving at 90, but I'm going to put it back on 144. So the text looks sharp. The brightness, well, this goes up to a peak brightness of 800 nits is their claim, and I think a general kind of brightness of normally around about 400, 500, because I can only measure just over 400 nits of brightness, so nowhere near their claims. I never seem to get brands' claims when it comes to phones or tablets, but it is very bright and does fare well. And it's fully laminated to this display, so there's no ugly gap. We haven't seen that for a very long time, and I wouldn't expect that to ever make a comeback, which is good. So animations, the fluidity, touch response, all very good, no matter what version I am using. So great IPS panel, but I feel it should actually be OLED in 2025. So both of the tablets are running HyperOS. This is version 2 based on Android 15. And I think they are both about the same when it comes to the fluidity. Occasionally, I might see a little less stutter with the Pro version, but really it's not much of a difference, and it's not big enough for me to go and say, oh, you should definitely go for the Pro because it's going to be a lot more fluid. No, that doesn't really seem to be the case at all that I've noticed with both of them. So touch response on both is excellent, and it's just down to a very small difference in the chipsets. They're actually quite similar, as I'll show you now. So with Antutu, you can see that, yes, this is faster here, the Pro version, but not by that much, because it's only about, approximately 12,000 points there. The GPU, a little bit faster, memory slightly faster, but then that is about it when it comes to the performance there of both of them with Antutu. Synthetic benchmarks, there's not really that much in it. Charge time, however, there is a bit of a difference because we're looking at 45 watts with the non-Pro version, takes 52 minutes to fully charge. Same capacity, remember, of the battery, so 8,850 milliamp hours. And our Pro version with its 67 watt charging, you can see here at the top, it's using an official Xiaomi charger that I do have, took 46 minutes. So not really that much in it at all. 6 minutes, it's definitely not a reason to buy one or the other because of the charging speeds. Now, both of them do come with a bit of bloatware pre-installed, TikTok and a few others. You can easily uninstall that. The bloatware is nowhere near as bad as their Poco phones. And they both support a Widevine Level 1 cert. So Netflix and Amazon Prime Video, yes, it is in full HD. Battery runtime, in my testing, they are both pretty much almost identical. You're going to see somewhere around this mark here. So with the battery life test that I ran here, PC Mark, 8 hours and 38 minutes for this capacity of battery is okay. And this score is a lot better than what I got with the Chinese version. The Chinese version, I think, had a ROM that was really pushing their performance, but in turn, it made their battery life suffer quite a lot because I think I remember off the top of my head only getting around 6 hours with the same exact test. So it's a lot better now with our global ROM here and global version. Now, the storage speeds, let's test those right now with Antutu. I don't expect them to be that different, but because of the larger capacity, the write speed should be faster, however, with the Pro model. Okay, that's just finishing up now, and the difference isn't huge as I thought, but we are seeing better reads and writes, randoms there, and slightly higher writes with the 512 gigabytes of storage there. Then the Xiaomi Focus Pen. So this is our active stylus with over 8,000 pressure sensitive levels. I'll launch this, Mi Canvas, and I'll first do a handwriting test here. Hello world, that's what I typically write. And that is very, very quick. And the accuracy where the nib is, where it touches, is exactly where I expect it to be, which is good. It's not like a millimeter off or anything. Now, I've noticed too with the pen that the palm rejection works around about a centimeter away from the screen. So I'll hold the stylus just about a centimeter off from the screen, and you can see nothing. But as soon as I lift that stylus up quite a bit, palm rejection's not working. And I can take the stylus right up to the almost the very edge. In fact, it leaves a little bit of a gap there, I'm noticing. Oh no. Okay, yeah, like a couple of pixels right on the edge. It's a little hard to see where there is that limitation there with the stylus. Okay, so there's a bit of a limit there. Now the buttons allow me to go through the tools, the different colors there at the top, and select different tools. So that's good. That is working as planned. It pairs up with Bluetooth as well. So overall seems good. What about pressure sensitive levels? Pressing harder. I'm not really noticing that much of a difference. So we have to take their word for it that it does have the over 8,000 pressure sensitive levels. But it's a very responsive stylus. good, nice, large size to it. I like how it charges wirelessly, clips onto the top. So if you need a good stylus, well, the Mi Pad 7 series has it. So multitasking, what can we do with a tablet like this? Well, they have this mode that if you swipe down from toggles, you can select it, which is to go into this, which is a workspace mode that they have. So it's kind of like a desktop mode, but with floating windows. So if you start to launch other things, you'll see them all pop up on the screen. And this is a way that we can then do a little bit of multitasking. You can minimize those. You can drag and resize things. I've shown this before in previous videos, but I thought I'd cover it again because it is pretty good here what Xiaomi's doing. So you can select the size of this. You can kill it off. You can make it a windowed one. The windows, you can resize them to as well on the go. So the more you start to run, the more you notice the performance is affected a little bit. But if you run something really demanding like a game in the background and you try to run another game, there will be a compromise then in the performance. It's going to be sacrificed here because it's trying to run two demanding apps really at the same time. Even though it's got plenty of power, you will sometimes see frame dips and a little bit of lag when you go a little bit heavy there with the multitasking. So I can bring up some other things before, go home, and choose to just go to recent apps and bring those up too as well. So there's the Mi Canvas, their own built-in stylus app. All right, and I can decide here, no, I want to go full screen with that one, and it does it. And the animation and everything does look very good. It's pretty smooth. And then I can decide that, oh, no, I want to go back to some other apps here. Then you're able to do so. So multitasking on this, with the typical split screen, you can also do that too if you want. All very good. So it's a great multitasking tablet. The loudspeakers are good on the Pad 7 series. They're both the same hardware on the Pro model and the non-Pro. So we get them firing out either side. And even if you're holding it like this, you won't block the upper speakers. So it's good if you're gaming, you're still going to get the great sound from it. So the sample I'll give you now, this is at 90% volume, and you'll hear that they're loud and there's a little bit of bass in there. They're not overwhelming with the bass. You don't get amazing lows, but still good for a tablet. Now, as we saw from the Antutu scores, they are both very similar when it comes to the gaming performance. That in my testing with Genshin Impact, this is Diablo Immortal here at the moment. They both seem to be absolutely identical. I cannot really tell any difference between them in performance when we're looking at a very, very similar chipset performance. So Snapdragon 8S Gen 3 or the Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 3, which is what I'm currently testing in this non-Pro model right here. Over to the cameras now with our Pad 7 and Pad 7 Pro. I'm recording this footage on the Pad 7. It has electronic image stabilization, and the rear camera, I'll use the Pad 7 Pro for that. But when you do shoot video, they really are the same. Now, camera samples that I'm showing you, these are from the Pad 7 Pro, and it's got average cameras. Even though this one has the 50 megapixel camera, I find that between the 13 megapixels of the non-Pro and the Pro, there really is not that much of a difference at all, and I wouldn't base my decision on the cameras at all. Just think of them as being really about the same. Don't be fooled by the 50 megapixel count versus 13, because really, they're not amazing cameras, they're rear cameras. Rear video, this is with the Pad 7 Pro, and with the Pad 7, the video quality is really about the same. And it's very good, I think, for a tablet. Audio is also good. Quite windy here today. And you can shoot 4K 30 with the Pad 7 and 4K 60 max with the Pro version. So there's a slight difference there. If you needed that 60 frames per second, well, it's only the Pro that has it. So what it boils down to is if you need 512 gigabytes of storage and you need a fingerprint reader, then you get yourself the Xiaomi 7 Pro. Slightly more expensive, then that's the model for you. But for everyone else, I think go for the Pad 7, and with the 256 gigabytes of storage, you get the 12 gigabytes of RAM too as well, which both of these models have, because the difference in chipset performance, that's not enough to make you pay the slight extra to get the Pro model. I don't think it is. You can't tell that difference only in synthetic benchmarks. And the other is the charge time. So 45 watts versus 65 watts with the Pro model. You're looking at about 7-8 minutes or so of charge time difference. And that's not enough again to warrant going for the Pro model. So that's why it's just the storage and the fingerprint reader for me, because remember, battery capacity, battery life that I've shown you in this video, and the screens, they are the same. They support the same accessories. And in a way, I'm kind of a bit puzzled as why we have a 7 and a 7 Pro when they should have kind of combined them or just given us the Pro model. I think would have been best. But for everyone, I think go and get yourself the cheaper version. Still an excellent tablet. Very good build quality to it. The IPS, okay, it's not OLED, but it's still a great screen. Great accessories. Speakers sound great. Performance in general is very good. There's only two things that I think Xiaomi needs to add to these tablets, I hope, in the Pad 8 series when that comes out at the end of this year. And that is micro SD card support. Bring that back and add a 3.5mm headphone jack would also be welcomed with these excellent tablets here from Xiaomi. So thank you so much for watching my comparison, very mini one, and review of the Xiaomi Pad 7 series.